All right, hello everybody. This is Alona Funtikova-White, aka Ellie White. Welcome to my channel, and this is the third video on these quite peculiar and interesting, fascinating, I would say, garter stitch machines. So I have zip garter stitch machine, and I already made a couple of videos. The first video is how to start the work and how to knit the simple garter stitch on this machine, and the second video was about this pattern up here. Okay, so please visit my channel, and I also will add the links to those videos in the description of this one. And now I want to show you how to knit this lacy pattern. So once again, as I mentioned in my previous videos, in order to do any kind of stitch manipulation, you want to move your comb to the front pair of slots, so it's farther away from your machine, so you have space to move the stitches around. And the principle to make the lace on these machines is very similar, if not identical, I would say identical, to the principle of making a lace in the hand knitting or on any other machine. What do you do to make a lace? You need two stitches together, and then you do yarn over, and that's how you create those loops, right? So the holes, those lacy holes here. Nothing different for this machine, so let's do it. For this particular pattern, we will skip the stitches, then we'll take a stitch and move it to the right. All right, skip two stitches. Don't count the one that have two stitches on it right now. Skip two stitches, grab a stitch, move to the right. Skip two stitches, grab one stitch, move to the right. And you do this all across the row. As I mentioned in my previous video, for some of you spoiled with the more modern knitting machines and garter carriages and whatnot, you might think, oh, that's too involved, that's take too much time, I don't want to do it. And that's fine, you don't have to, right? The main beauty of this machine is to quickly knit the garter stitch, and if that's all you want from it, that's fine. You don't have to do this. I personally happen to love knitting on these kind of more manual machines. Besides, if you look at this pattern, it's different. Imagine just a regular stockinette stitch in between. It's a whole different feel to it, at least in my opinion, the way I see it. But again, it's up to you. I'll show you how to do it, and then you decide if it's too much for you or not. The other option also, you obviously don't have to make the whole garment in this pattern. You can just use it at the bottom for some kind of decoration, and then use the regular garter stitch after that. Anyway, so here I am. I transferred every third stitch over, right? And now I move it back to the closer pair of slots for the actual knitting. Again, just like in my previous video, I'm not going to go into too much detail how to knit the row. I encourage you to go check my other video where I explained how to knit a row on this machine. All I'm focusing on right now is showing you how to do the pattern, this particular lacy pattern on this machine. So it could be a little tricky. You need to watch out for those doubled stitches. Make sure that both of them knitted and you only have one loop on each comb tooth before you turn around. Okay, this is critical. Seems all right to me. Now I turn it around. So now what we have here is the, you can clearly see, I hope you can see, oops, let me move it here, that's better. You can see the loops here, right? And we turned it around, as you remember. So we are from the opposite side now. So we take the loop, the stitch next to the loop, and we move it to the right again. All right? So I do the same thing again. I take the stitch next to the loop and I move it to the right, to the neighboring stitch. Okay? Here we go. And here we go. Okay? That's done. Move it back closer for knitting the row. Align my knitting the row, paying attention to those doubled stitches, making sure that they knitted properly, right? And paying attention to my edge stitch as well, making sure that that's knitted too. There we go. Turn it around like that. Okay? And we do the same thing again. So this is our loop now, right? Now don't get confused, because that's what happened to me when I first started knitting this pattern. I got confused because I'm looking at this loop and it's like, okay, so now I need to move the stitch next to the loop, and the loop is over, like the hole is over here. No, you are only interested in the actual row, the very last row, the row that is currently on the comb. That's the hole you're looking for. That's the hole, not this one, okay? These are the holes we're interested in. And so we take the stitch next to it and move it to the right again. So it's the same manipulation, it's the same principle. Because you knit on both sides, you flip the comb around, they will be automatically alternating, right? But as far as you're concerned with your hand manipulations, you just need to remember that you always take the stitch next to the loop on the last row and always move it one stitch to the right. It's not that difficult to remember, isn't it? I don't think it is. I think it's pretty easy. I'm checking to make sure that you have a good view, because it's not exactly centered. I probably should have centered my swatch when I casted it on in the first place. Now, because it's not centered, I'm checking my camera on my watch to make sure that you guys have a good view of what I'm doing. And this, as you probably noticed, it's only the first row with this double stitches that might give you some headache. All the next of the consequent rows, they don't really give you any trouble, because by then you have those holes here that make it easier to, your loops as a result are, let me move it here, can you see it? Yep. Your loops are bigger. Those that are, the stitches that are above the holes are a little bigger, so they're a little looser, which is a good thing, right? Because they help you with knitting those two stitches together. And again, obviously, you should probably figure out the math and make sure that your pattern is positioned so your left and right and edges are symmetrical, right? I didn't bother with it. I didn't even count how many stitches I casted on in my first video, because it really doesn't matter, right? Once you understand the principle, you'll be able to figure out how to deal with it and how to position your fabric and how many stitches you will need to cast on, so your pattern looks, your stitch looks beautiful. All right, and we're going to make one more. Oops. And sometimes this happens. Sometimes I'm getting too excited and pull it too hard, and that's not a big deal. See, you just kind of pull it back. And you know why it happened to me? Because I probably shouldn't be doing the hole right next to the edge stitch. That was my mistake, and that's how you learn, right? So note to yourself, don't position a hole next to the edge stitch. The machine does not like it. So now I know. See, this is kind of attitude I suggest all, especially the new machine knitters, obtain. You know, just, yeah, every experience is, yeah, see, I messed up something here. But that's okay, ignore that. The rest of it seems to be working just fine. So I'll continue in this manner, and then we'll just abandon those stitches on both sides, which was a bad idea in the first place anyway, right? But yeah, it's very important to get the kind of a mindset, enjoy the process, because that was my mistake as well. I started machine knitting, and I barely learned how to cast on, and I jumped right into some lacy cardigan with some fashion decreases and whatnot, and I made a big mess and a joke out of myself, got all frustrated, packed my machine and didn't touch it for over a year. So don't be me, right? Take your time to get to know your machine. You will thank me later. So don't jump right at it. There's a lot to learn. All right, let's do one more row. So once again, you find the loops, the big holes right on the last row, right here, right here, right here, right here, and right here. I hope you can see them pretty well. And so I take the loop to the right of it and move it one stitch to the right, right? So it's not that difficult, like I said, and once you get a hang of it, it goes fairly quickly. Definitely slower than just a regular garter stitch, as you probably noticed, and the reason being making sure those doubled stitches are knitted properly. So aside from this hole, and like I said, just ignore it, this is the kind of pattern you will end up if you continue in this manner. And like I said, there's a bunch of applications for this pattern, right? You can, let me see, move it this way, there we go. Yep. You can just do the bottom of the cardigan, for example, or a child's dress or a sweater. Just one of the options. All right, I hope you find my demonstration useful. Once again, happy knitting, and come back and check on me. I will continue making videos on this machine as I learn more. Take care.